If you clicked on this video, you probably want to see some receipts up front. Did this fool actually risk his entire review code window, of only 6 days, on Ultra Nightmare? The difficulty where your save file goes to the lava pit when you inevitably die. You betcha BFG I did. And it's not an isolated idiocy. I believe I was the first console player in the world to smash out Ultra Nightmare on Doom 2016, and then also Doom VFR in 2017. Two equally stupid feats that are really just a damning testament to my lack of life, more than anything. Am I showing you this spoiler-free proof for clout? No! It's mainly so that you know how intimate a relationship this reviewer has had, not only with this game, but with the entire series, OG and reboot era both. I am more than qualified to answer the following question about Doom the Dark Ages. If you were to buy it to rip and tear, how long until it is fun? If you're a veteran returning to Dark Ages, first impressions are going to come as a shock. Because this sure ain't no Doom Eternal 2. 8-way dodging? Purged. Mothership mid-mission hub space? Banished to the 9th circle. Chainsaw somehow present in a sci-fi setting? Gutted out, like some glory-killed heavy. Some of those cuts sting, and feel as needless as the artistic rendering of the Cacodemon buttholes in 1993. Other changes, well, they feel like smart decisions that are not worth demonizing. Firstly, because those mechanical changes make narrative and practical sense here. We're winding back the clock to a primordial time and place when the Slayer, humanity's most broodingly badass protector and bunny adorer, was doing things a hell of a lot differently. His old job description was to literally get medieval on people's asses. And oh how he did. Secondly, id Software freely admits to wanting to head off to something more akin to those slow projectile slaloms of that original sin. Classic Doom. And you know what? They have a right to do that. Doom's style has never been static. Taking a shot at some big changes feels like an armless, devil-may-care experiment to me. More power to them. Go nuts, I say. Or possibly berserk. I should also note that I usually kick off my reviews with a plot synopsis right about now. However, that seems like a waste of time, as the story of Dark Ages is thinner than an emaciated imp. Respectfully, it almost feels like somebody hooked up a 15-year-old kid to an IV of red cordial, gave them a copy of the Big Book of Heavy Metal album art, and then asked them to come up with something that just escalated in badassery. Is the end result of that over the top and a little meat-headed in spots? Yeah, is that a problem for me? No. I don't play Doom for Bill Shakespeare. I play it for Kill Snakespears. Awful wordplay aside, this adventure focuses on a group of humans and deities of frankly little concern doing what they do in largely predictable ways in order to facilitate more face-melting metal and ultra-violence. If you put a BFG to my head and asked me to name all of the major players in it, I probably couldn't. I cared more about my nameless dragon mount than any character with a speaking role. Such a good boy. So let's talk about different mechanics leveraged in cool new ways. As I said earlier, everything has been reconsidered and rejigged, rather than evolved onwards from Eternal. But does that also mean Dark Ages climbs to new heights and delivers the gold? At best, it feels like a competent gem of a side grade, rather than an evolutionary leap. At worst, it might seem a little diluted during the appetizer moments, but then id comes along and delivers sacrilegious new flavors and a fresh feeling flow state to boot. Dark Ages trades Eternal's aerial pirouettes and grapple hooking for weighty, toe-to-hoof barbarism. Younger Slayer is now a medieval man-tank, audibly clunking from foot to foot, though he still absolutely barrels along, like an M1 Abrams that got a Back to the Future hover conversion. There's also a new combat rhythm and loop that thrives on the dynamic synergy of your new shield saw that blocks on L2, can be thrown via L1, and can clear out wide arcs of trash mobs with this sort of cooldown controlled homing shield dash. Also on cooldown, or replenished via a dedicated pickup, is your devastating melee weapon attacks, which eventually come in one of 4 different flavors. And when it comes to favorites, I like to start my day with a good morning star. Honestly, guns can almost become secondary if you know how to balance those super satisfying aforementioned mechanics and spec them for lower cooldowns. Your shield is what's key here. It's part parry solution, part weapon, part personal space enforcer. Striking, blocking and countering, that constant fencing against a full horde soon became this lovely game of high-speed chess that had me stomping my feet for more. To maximize that sensation, you're definitely going to want to engage auto run, which, in an act of sheer heresy, is defaulted to off. And then, Dark Ages just feels phenomenal. Truly, it was difficult to mourn Doom Eternal as I was loving the flow states I got dropped into while threading my way through these literal bullet hells. Dark Ages may feel streamlined, yes, but it's satisfying. Unfamiliar, yet kinetic and sublime as well. Aside from a refreshed cast of monsters with unique strategies to deal with, like armor that needs to be heated up with repeated hits before you can shatter it, or big green barriers that need to be parried back to sender, a la the Marauder, Dark Ages doesn't really throw up too many new tricks. However, leader enemies are an interesting facet that can really test your mettle. Basically, a large immune variant of a foe will appear and then just be as untouchable as Elliot Ness until you reduce its confidence, typically by shredding a small community's worth of lesser fiends. After that, the mid-boss battle may be joined in earnest, and then it's open heart surgery time for a really great reward. When it comes to boomsticks, you have a weapon wheel chopped into 12 guns, filled with mostly new stuff, which, realistically, are the usual suspect archetypes sporting interesting new unlockable functions that may be purchased at upgrade shrines using the gold you've collected. There's also a reasonably deep perk pool for all of these guns, and I dig that ticking off skill-based mini-goals can cash you up to buy the best parts of them. I also really like that this arsenal is cleverly bundled into what is effectively 6 double weapons, which can be quick switched with a tap of square into what are effectively their sister variants. Examples: shotgun to super shotgun, and grenade launcher to rocket launcher. When I use that button, in conjunction with the dedicated swap back to previous weapon function, I basically went through most of the game keeping my 4 favourite attitude adjusters at my fingertips, and this keeps the game tempo righteously relentless. I've got to tell you, that approach works because Dark Ages seems to ease up quite a bit on the whole concept of the Slayer pairing specific monsters with specific guns, like you and I might, with wines and cheeses. That's a complexity loss that pained me to begin with, but I came to learn that it's been sacrificed upon the altar of game speed and mayhem. So, in the long run, it didn't hurt me plenty at all. I will, however, round out this section by saying that some features just didn't need to go onto the pyre. Player invasions, master levels, and empowered demons made stronger after they kill another player. I really hope those get bolted back in, post-launch, because hey, as I stand on this side of the end credits, there's not a lot of things to saddle back up for. Dark Ages is a feast for the eyes, if your idea of a meal involves crumbling stone, molten lava rivers, and demon entrails. More than that, it actually blew my mind when I finished the game and then decided to crank the game speed up to 150%. Even running at that clip, it's insanely buttery smooth, with no discernible frame rate drops. The id-Tech engine flexes its muscles elsewhere, most notably with the occasional gargantuan-sized level that we've just not seen in this series before. Not to mention dynamic lighting that makes every lantern flicker with ominous intent, and textures so crisp you can count the rivets in your gauntlet as it's punching someone in the face. While they're not always present in the 22 missions on offer, those mancubus-sized levels let you choose your own adventure with main objectives and side conquests and/or collectibles, which admittedly aren't very well hidden on the map at all. Some of these overworlds are intimidatingly sprawling, to the point where they want for a custom objective marker functionality on the map screen, but there is none. I gotta say, it's nice to get a mix of claustrophobic linear dungeons, those chonky overworlds I just mentioned, and then, all of a sudden, neck minute, you'll get this visual palette and gameplay cleanse in the form of a Panzer Dragoon Joyflight or a Kaiju Punch-Out to really mech your day. You honestly never really know what's coming next, though what does arrive almost always adds to what is an overall epic ride. Better yet, Dark Ages sounds as good as it looks. Mostly. The Slayer's footfalls, thumping out like war drums, never gets old. Your shield saw whirs with mechanical ferocity, and every gat and gib is delivered with punchiness you'll get a kick out of. When it comes to the soundtrack, this is only good to great in my mind. One has to pity the poor bastard who was tasked with following Mick Gordon's masterpiece level work on the last two Doom games. So I would say adjust any sky-high expectations you have down accordingly. This is great stuff, but it's not the exceptional, experimental genre fusion that deserves a permanent spot in your gym workout playlist. Now that I've laid out the bare bones of Dark Ages and fleshed that out with positives and negatives, let's shoot straight to the heart of the matter. I approach this prequel with an excited, open mind, but also with that little nagging question. Can Dark Ages really evolve the series beyond the approaching perfection of its predecessor? I don't think it does. I think what's here is a medieval mosh pit of mayhem that'll leave you grinning under your helmet, even if it doesn't quite outshine its elders. Some of the flesh of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal has been peeled back sensibly in service of a new way. Some chunks of epidermis, however, shouldn't have been extracted at all. Dark Ages is going to be a divisive entry in the series, and it may cause some arguments. Personally though, I liked it, and would recommend a purchase. I recognise that it doesn't quite topple the high watermark set by its features-rich and more complex forebears. However, and paradoxically, there's an old-school purity to this new niche carved, and I loved the infernal delights of its moment-to-moment massacring. In short, and please excuse the unholy wordplay, I think it's a righteous ritual of stripped-down slaughter that's well worthy of possession by you.